Thanks for tuning in. This is Thomper Be Thompin', and in this video I'm going to give you a part 3 review of the 2023 Toyota Tundra. I've had it for about 7 months, about 8,500 miles. This is the gas-only version, a limited trim with the crew cab, short box, and the rear air suspension. Basic four-wheel drive package. I do have most of the boxes checked for the limited trim, and I'll talk about some of those features. I've got a part 1 out and a part 2 out where I go over many of the different features. This video is going to be more focused on my impressions after 7 months, 8,500 miles, and the things that stick out to me most. So go check those out for more detail. Stick around for my likes and dislikes after 7 months of ownership. So in those 2 initial videos, I did talk about a lot of the things that many other customers or online commenters were worried about. Things like the fit and finish or the engine and the transmission and stuff. And I commented in those videos that so far, everything's been perfect for me. And still, after 7 months, 8,500 miles, everything is still perfect. I've had 0 issues with the drivetrain at all. I have done an oil change recently. I've had 0 issues with the fit and finish. Everything in this truck, the safety features, the electronics, the rear air suspension, works as it did day one. I'm very happy with the reliability, durability, and fit and finish so far. I know that's only a short amount of time. So first and foremost, my biggest my best impression of this vehicle so far is how well it tows. Now, this is a half-ton truck, so it's limited in certain ways. With payload, 1,400 pounds, tow rating something like 11,000. I'm never going to tow that much with this vehicle, but I wanted something that could tow and haul confidently. I do prefer the longer bed. This is the 5.5-foot bed, but it's been pretty good for me so far. You just drop the tailgate. I loaded my Yamaha Grizzly back here, no problem. A couple dirt bikes is not non-issue. Dump runs is perfectly fine. So hauling is great. The technology with the camera views really helps out a lot. The air suspension has been remarkable. You tow perfectly level, even with that toy hauler that has an approximately 800-pound tongue weight on it. Tows nice and level. So the next major like that I have for this truck goes hand in hand with the towing, and that is the engine and transmission. In those first couple of videos, I made a lot of comments about how some people were a little bit apprehensive about the turbocharged engine that's going inside of these trucks and how Toyota's kind of replaced the V8 permanently now. Well, I am here to say that I am fully bought in. I cannot imagine that Toyota is going to put an unreliable engine in here. So far, I've had absolutely 0 issues. The engine power and the delivery, that's the keynote. The delivery of that power has been flawless. The 10-speed transmission works very well. It's a very nice coupling to this power plant. But my most favorite thing about this engine is how it's kind of like a diesel light. So this thing builds 480 pound-feet of torque starting at 2,400 RPM. So at 2,000 RPM, you've got what? 70–80% of that? I don't know, I haven't seen a torque curve, but you've got a lot of torque at low RPMs, and when you do need it, you can dip into that throttle, grab 2,500, 3,000 RPMs, 4,000 RPMs, and really unleash all that horsepower. I love that setup. It makes it for very comfortable towing experiences. I take this 5,000-pound travel trailer through the mountains. I've towed it back from New Jersey all the way to Virginia, and it towed it like a breeze. Now you feel it back there, but yeah, the power and the control that you get from this engine is great. Now, last final point on the engine. For those who are still very weary about the reliability and durability of these turbocharged engines in all manufacturers' trucks these days, I am going to link a video below that TFL Truck posted where they conducted interviews with engine engineers behind the Ford turbocharged truck engines, the General Motors turbocharged truck engines, specifically the 2.7 that's available in their midsize and their half-ton trucks. And they talked to the Toyota engineer who's mostly talking about the 2.4-liter turbocharged engine in the upcoming Tacoma, but a lot of that same methodology is applicable for this 3.5. Well, it's really a 3.4. So I highly encourage you to watch those videos. In there, they clearly explain, now they have biased opinions, I'm sure, they're engineers for those companies. They clearly explain how they developed these engines from the ground up to be used in truck duty, towing and hauling. So I'm perfectly happy and comfortable with the reliability and the expected reliability from these engine platforms. So my next quick like is going to be about miles per gallon. A lot of people ask about this in my other videos. Obviously in the wintertime, you're going to get worse MPGs. They've got that different blend of fuel. So you get a slight decrease in MPG. But in the summertime, lately, I've been getting quite impressive MPGs. Now, towing that 5,000 pound toy hauler, I got 12 MPG on the way here from my house. It was about a 25-minute drive through 35, 40 mile per hour roads. Normally, I'm getting anywhere from like around 10 to 11 towing that thing on the highway, and I take it easy too. But unladen, on some recent highway trips, I've gotten some incredible fuel economy. Commuting back and forth to work in mixed driving, I'm seeing anywhere from 18 to 20, really sticking around that 19 MPG number. And that's suburban streets, city streets, and a small stretch of about 6 miles of highway. But unladen on some recent highway trips, I got 23.1 MPG on a 245 mile trip up to New Jersey. And on a more recent trip, it was about 210 miles. I got 24.0. I was going the speed limit, which happened to be about 70 miles per hour on a lot of those roads. But I'm very impressed. If you're unladen and you don't have any huge aerodynamic drags happening, you're gonna get very good fuel economy on the highway. Again, if you stay out of it, with any of these turbocharged engines, the second you really dip into all that power from the turbos and you crank the boost up, you're gonna really significantly deplete that MPG. But I can live with it, I'm happy. This does as good as my old V6 4Runner. So I am no sound junkie at all, like stereo junkie, but the JBL upgraded speaker system in this truck is pretty good. You get a nice, clear, crisp sound, and you can really crank it and it doesn't get very distorted at all. So very happy with the sound system. So as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I'm very happy with the fit and finish and all the trim. That's holding up very well. The dash, the steering wheel, all the controls, even the trim along the windows, which I know some people have had issues with when they first rolled out this truck. Everything is nice and tight. I've got zero rattles, zero creaks, zero anything. Everything's operating and as nice and tight as it was, as if it was brand new. So I did not get a chance to clean the inside or outside of this sucker before making this video. Apologies about that, but you know, I got a 3-month-old at home, so I got to pick and choose those battles. I'm also really happy with all of these safety features. I haven't really had many issues at all with those. I like the lane keep assist quite a bit. That feature is very useful on the highway. Just kind of, if you do get slightly distracted, it'll just keep you in the lanes, especially when you're pulling a trailer or something like that. You've got all these, what's pretty common on every car these days, these little radar sensors, sonar sensors. Here's the radar sensor for the cruise control, and you've got these little sonar sensors all along the front and rear bumper. Those are great for parking lots and things like that. If you're parking in some tight areas, some unfamiliar spots, it's dark out, you can very easily see any obstacles. The rear cross traffic alert is great for really tight parking lots. That's another safety feature that I do like. One thing I dislike is about those safety features though, is that sometimes they can be a little bit too sensitive. If you're in heavy traffic, like at a stoplight, and the person ahead of you is distracted, they obviously are not paying attention to the light, but you are, you kind of let off your throttle a little bit and you start rolling forward. Well, if you get a little bit too close to their bumper and they don't take off, it's going to very suddenly bring you to a stop. So it's great because it'll bring you to a stop. If you're distracted, you won't hit somebody. But at the same time, if you're just like kind of creeping and waiting for that person to go and you get a little bit too close, it kind of brings you to a jarring stop. That's my only complaint about the safety features so far. One quick little interjection here. In the previous video, part 2, I pointed out how there are extremely few tire options available in this stock tire size for the 20-inch rims. These are 265/60 R20s. Now, I was looking at tire racks options, and they do only have like maybe 30 tires. 90% of those are E-rated. I'm actually considering getting E-rated tires next. Probably will, just for towing and stuff. But I checked some other online locations and there's a lot more. Oh, hey, there's a bald eagle. I'm at Pohick Bay Regional Park in Northern Virginia. That's the third bald eagle I've seen this morning. This is awesome. Yeah, I went to a company like Simple Tire and they've got like 70 options. A lot of those are E-rated. So something to consider if you are gonna change up rims, you know, just double check, see if you can get a tire size where there's a lot of different options out there. So my next major like is going to be the rear air suspension. I specifically opted for this option, as I mentioned in previous videos, and just a quick update, it's still working flawlessly. It's so easy to use and it does a great job of handling a heavy load. Oh, judo chop, big wasp. If you've got like my Grizzly that I loaded up in here, 700 pounds plus some gas and some loading ramps and things, it does an absolute great job of leveling that load. Also, when I dropped this travel trailer on it and I put all like 850 pounds of tongue weight on this ball, there's that wasp again. It will initially kind of sink and then you hear the compressor come on and it just brings it right up to a level height. So that's a feature that I love. Again, one of the primary reasons I went to this truck, I'm a big fan of the rear air suspension. I know there's pros and cons to that system. Another extremely useful feature that I've mentioned in previous videos is gonna be kind of just the whole bed setup in general. There's that stupid wasp again. I guess he's just gonna be here for the video. I hate wasps. So the bed lighting, you've got these two LEDs up on the rear tail light there, and then you've got two LEDs in the side of the bed. They are extremely bright. I have had to use them for unloading and loading dirt bikes when it was dark out, and they do a great job. Finally, on the rear tailgate, you have an additional light and a camera that's very beneficial for if you're having to hook up a trailer in the dark. You got plenty of light to monitor hooking up the ball. Now the bed is mostly pros. I love these easily relocatable tie downs. They have a, what is it, a 220 pound load rating for each one of these. So great for dirt bikes, you know, tying down some random junk or perhaps an ATV for using several of them. And then in each corner they have one of these singular, much higher rated tie downs. Now, I think it's Chevrolet, I could be wrong, does the 1, 2, 3 tie downs in every corner. Come on, truck manufacturers, give us more tie down spots. One in each corner, come on. It's like probably a $2 part for you guys. Incorporate that. Now, an additional like is gonna be this bed mat, although that was an aftermarket feature. I like the composite bed. It's lightweight and strong and very slippery though. So for some people, that's an advantage. You can easily slide in and out gear. But for me and my findings, I wanted something with a little bit more grip. So I went and purchased the Toyota branded bed mat. That keeps things like my loading ramps from sliding all over the place. And I prefer it this way. But if you want to take it out, it's very easy to do so. And then the final like that I have that I find myself using more and more is going to be the different drive modes. Obviously, there's tow haul and tow haul plus. Tow haul for 5,000 pounds and below. Tow haul plus for above 5,000 pounds. Very simple. But you also have a little quick dial feature where you can select Eco, Normal, and Sport. Now, I don't know precisely how that changes the mapping and everything of the engine, but you can tell a difference, especially between like Eco and Sport. I drive in normal mode 75% of the time, but when the engine's a little cold and the transmission's a little helicopter. But I like using those three different features, Eco, Normal, and Sport, for different reasons. Obviously, you're gonna be in normal most of the time. I like using Eco mode when the truck is cold, the engine and transmission might be slightly sluggish those first few minutes of operating. Throw it into eco mode and it just kind of softens up that hit. Obviously in like heavy stop and go traffic, putting it in eco mode is nice because it really eases off into like first or second gear, whatever the truck starts off in. I think it's actually second. but it gives you a nice smooth takeoff if you're in stop and go traffic. But if you are in heavier traffic that's moving quickly and you need to maybe make some merges to get to your exit, or to accelerate on an on-ramp and move in and merge onto the freeway, that's where I actually like sport mode. So it'll keep the RPMs up, it'll keep you in a higher gear, it'll downshift a little quicker, and it's quite smooth. It sounds like it might be pretty abrupt, but they did a great job of really making that very smooth. So if you're in kind of a more hectic driving situation and you need that power instantly, for example, if you're pulling out onto a main road and you do not want that any type of transmission lag because you have to make a gap, sport mode, it's very smooth, gets you out there quick. So those little features are pretty nice, and I find myself using them more and more. So it ain't all sunshine and lollipops. There are some negatives, some dislikes that I've noticed after this amount of time, and one of them being there's no like option to track your maintenance. In my previous 4Runners and in our current generation 2019 RAV4, we have options within the setting menus to access a maintenance chart. And in that maintenance chart, you've got little buttons. Everything from oil changes to tire rotations to filter changes to spark plugs to a number of other things. But you also have customizable personal maintenance items you can set up. And those are set up with a countdown that goes by a date or by mileage, whichever comes first. It makes it very easy to track your tire rotations, your engine oil filter changes, and if you've got any accessories on the truck that you do have to maintain, you can add in those individual personalized maintenance reminders. It's such a simple feature that they should have added into all of these things. So my next dislike is pretty minor, but something that probably a lot of people are going to want to know about. This hood does not go up very far. So I just recently did an oil change and I actually bonked my head up on the hood. That's as high as it goes. You've got your oil fill right here. So when you got to do a spark plug job, you know, this is a pretty tight quarters. It does have these struts which help lift it up, which is great, but your battery's right here in the far back. So getting that heavy battery up and out is gonna, it's the most minor of complaints, but they should have made this hood able to go up a few more degrees, make this engine bay a little bit more accessible. Another incredibly minor complaint, the limited trim, to my knowledge, doesn't come with mud flaps. Maybe some of them do, mine didn't. So mud guards, mud flaps, whatever you want to call them. Some trims have them, some trims don't. If you want to buy them from Toyota, they cost about $200, but there's plenty of companies on Amazon that make knockoff versions, and I bought one of those. So $38 on Amazon, I got a set of 4 mud flaps that bolt right up. You know, they take a 3D scan of the original ones and then just kind of make their own version of them. So that's really nice. But I think Toyota should put mud flaps, mud guards on all of them. If you do put larger tires on and you want to remove them, you can. Why not include them on every truck? So now getting into the more serious dislikes here. Again, I have the gas only version and it comes with a 400 watt inverter in the rear of the bed. Sure, that's powerful enough to like charge some batteries and like operate a fan or something like that, but in reality, that's not very powerful enough to do much of anything important, like running power tools and things like that, or whatever, coffee maker, blender, whatever, you're camping, you're working on table saws or something like that. Having a more powerful inverter like the competition has is key. Now, the Tacoma, the hybrid Tacoma coming out is going to have a 2.4 kilowatt inverter in the rear of the bed. That's a step up. It's definitely a step in the right direction. But Ford and their F-150, they have a what? A 7.2 kilowatt inverter in the rear of the bed that's available to you. So you can run a whole camper off that thing if you want. And with the really quiet exhaust, it's kind of like running a generator. You're using the battery, the engine, which is only going to kick on intermittently as it needs to charge up the battery again. And you've got a massive, capable, and quiet generator right in the bed of your truck. I think all the manufacturers should be starting to incorporate these things, especially as they move to hybrid platforms. I've already mentioned this, but I'm still really upset about it. There's no tow hooks. There's no tow hooks on these Tundras. That's the dumbest thing ever. Come on, guys. engineer this thing with a tow hook on it, at least one. Inexcusable. Now, there are some aftermarket options, but installing those will kind of limit the angle at which you can pull. So if you install those aftermarket options, you're basically going to be limited to a straight line pull. You're not going to be able to pull from an up high angle, because the rope or the snatch strap, whatever, will kind of press up against your bumper. Now, if you're doing that kind of serious of off-roading, you probably got an aftermarket bumper, and that aftermarket bumper probably has tow hooks incorporated in it, so you don't have to worry about it. So yeah, just a small, stupid, silly little, come on, Toyota, tow hooks. So my last little final complaint, which I have mentioned in previous videos, is going to be the lack of a way to get into this bed. I had to buy this from Toyota, this little bed step, because not all Tundras come with them. With the tailgate down and the way this bumper's shaped, you've got no way to jump up into this really tall tailgate. So there's those little things that like make a truck more usable. Things like tow hooks, things like bed steps, to make it more accessible and usable. So now, the 2024 Tacoma is going to be hitting the market here very soon, and it looks like they took some cues. I've seen bed steps, at least on the models that are being advertised online through the various media outlets, but I don't know if that's going to be stock on every Tacoma. But one of the things it does have, at least like on the limited trims, is this side release. So on the Tundras, it's only on the driver's side, but on the Tacomas, it's on both sides. Now, if you look at the other side, it does have a very obvious shape cut out to where that button should be, but it's just not there. So that's just a slight little oversight. Now, a couple of the other things that the new Tacoma does have is going to be, as I previously mentioned, the hybrid version is getting the 2.4 kilowatt inverter in the rear of the bed. Also, the Tacomas come with tow hooks, just saying. So there's a few features it looks like they kind of learned that they actually needed. They failed to incorporate them in on the Tundra, but they're bringing them into the Tacoma. So maybe future Tundras will get those components as the next model years start to roll out. Lastly, one of the new things that the Tacoma is getting that some other manufacturers do put on their body-on-frame vehicles is automatic or all-time four-wheel drive. So they use a Torsen center differential to give you full-time four-wheel drive. To my knowledge, all the Tundras have the old school 2 high, 4 low. I'm perfectly happy with that setup. I'm comfortable on when to use those and when not to, and remembering to turn it off, like when you're on hard pavement and stuff. But for a lot of drivers out there, it just might be easier to not think about it, leave it in full-time four-wheel drive, and let the truck do the thinking for them. That's a feature that I'd like to see incorporated in these modern day trucks. So hey, there's part 3. I'm probably not going to do a part 4 unless things start going wrong with the truck or I get a lot of questions, but I'm very happy with it. The dislikes that I have are extremely minor. I would absolutely buy this vehicle again. I encourage you to watch the TFL truck video where they interview all the different engineers from the various manufacturers. Check that out. Yeah, if you got any questions, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching.